Good morning and welcome to Daily Game Design. A later start this morning. I didn't. I'm not going into school today, so I just had a slower morning. I was messing around with some ideas at school yesterday, actually, that had to do with the Sugar Shack, the shack part of Sugar Shack. And what I want to do is spend some time kind of clicking through what that would feel like. I also updated taps, so visually this is not that helpful, like representing the taps. So I might want to come up with another way to show that this is this means tapping the trees. But I'm experimenting with changes to the shack and changes to the taps. So that's what I'm going to be spending some time doing today. You know, I considered looking at Nestlings, the rulebook, again for a little bit. That might be a little interesting, but for the most part, I want to get this design just figured out, just get it done. I had a couple people in mind. Paverson is one of them. What is it? Kids board game table. KBGT. I thought could be an interesting fit for this game. The main thing is I just want to get it to a point where I can pitch it and then move on to other stuff. So what's going on here? Well, thinking of Paverson Games and their interest in theme, they really try to capture some of the process of the thing that they are highlighting. So in the case of Luthier, they try to show a little bit of the process of building instruments. There's like the roughing stage, there's a finishing stage, and you do participate in the process a little bit just by moving an instrument from one area of your player area to another. But still, they kind of show the process, right? In the case in Distilled, I have never fully played, like I haven't played a full game of Distilled, but I think what they do is they somehow model they represent, there's like the stuff in the distillation process that you want, and then there's stuff that you don't or you can't use, and somehow they show that visually with cards or something like that. I forget, but they try to actually represent the process. So when I thought about how Sugar Shack is doing thematically, we've lost a ton of ground in the thematic department since streamlining really began. And so what I wanted to do is think of ways that I could circle back to some very simplistic representation of the process without it becoming like homework, without it feeling too much like, why am I just pushing the cubes around? So how to get back there without losing the pace, without losing, the momentum in the game. So I circled back. I circled back to the evaporator. So I dropped another evaporator here. And I kind of wish, actually, I could probably go back and look at older versions. Thankfully, there's one right here. Looks like the stream is going to be struggling today. Okay, so in this case, the the evaporator on this card, you had the indication of what it took to fill the evaporator. So it was kind of complicated, and you can see I tried to fit a lot on this card. Since then, let's go back to the new one. I actually got rid of the garage card. I suppose that wouldn't be in here because that was a portrait card, and it was oriented to portrait. But in this case, you you could place for free. You could pay 3 to add one more, and then you could place a worker at some point to add a third one, and then it's just you got 2 free ones after that. So you got this. You filled this stuff. I think end of round. So, wow, really struggling here with the connection. So this was back when the flow was, we place all of our workers out, then we run the process. So workers move, workers in the waiting room move to the active worker area. Cubes from here move to the bottling area, and then cubes from the sugar bush move to the evaporator. So it's actually very similar to the setup I have now. What happened to the truck? The truck is just gone now. Come on, little buddy, you can do it. Stay well connected. So the truck is gone, and it's just that I moved what was on the truck. I moved it over just over here. Now, for sure, there will be a version I could show you that has the old layout. It's probably even the most recent one. 1920 does not have it, actually. That's the current one. 19 still has the truck. It does. So this is still really simple. But I had the worker over here. Why did I think it was important to place the worker over here? I don't remember. So, so you could force the process. So I think I was a little self-conscious about the feeling that like players were maybe like, it's just, why delay things? Why make them hard to get? I think it might have been some kind of thinking like that. So that if you were out of cubes, you could... Oh, some of it is, what do you do with leftover workers? This already existed, though. Syrup Inc. existed, so I'm not sure that that's the real issue. I don't know. Wow, unreal. Why is this struggling so bad? I wonder if it's related to everything I have open. 96% memory. Yeah, that could be it. That could be it, but I don't know. I still imagine part of it is the connection, but let me see what I can. If there's anything else I can close. That's rough. Okay, well, click this as well. And this. So I wonder if I'm just going backwards with a slightly stronger defense, or some kind of a sense that like Dave is going to want to see something that feels more like there's theme here. Like, what is Sugar Shack if it doesn't matter what's going on with the Sugar Shack? Like, why call a game Sugar Shack if there's like there's nothing really to care about with the Sugar Shack? So here's, I guess, one interesting thing is that because I cleared off this card and moved information to another card, it all happens right here. So I wonder if that will be a little more amenable. I think it's possible. So one thing I'm going to experiment with. So I'm going to download these images and then build the like update the mod. So let me do this. So 8. Still not going super well. Three through 8. So you'll also see that I tried to build a choice into the taps. Because what if it's just the process and there's no decision to be made? That can't be fun. But then I wondered if I could add one more kind of tough decision. And you'll see what I did. Actually, you can already see a hint at it over there. Struggling. So a couple things that were little flashes of fun ideas yesterday. Actually, 3 things. Number 1, offering an intro to hobby board gaming, almost like a Parks and Rec class. You know, families or friends could sign up, and we would do a session of 30 minutes to an hour, like an actual like lesson. Okay, so this could include like topics I would imagine including are a little bit of history, like how games, you know, like starting with Catan, like what what's kind of gone on over time with the hobby. And so it's a little background like that, an introduction to genres, mechanic, genres of mechanism. Oh boy. So I'm thinking about how to teach and how to learn games. Also, I think I'm stressing my laptop out. It's getting a little better. It's just that I've got TTS, OBS, and Vivaldi going. And Vivaldi is just like using a pretty nuts. It uses less than Chrome, I'll have you know, but it's still a lot. And I'm using Vivaldi to do stuff, to like edit in Canva and also run my stream stuff. So it's like it's open. It needs to be open. I think sometime I'll just need to get like one of those little, I don't know what they would be. I don't know what a good version would be, but like a mini PC. Just something that would sit and handle all the streaming stuff separately. And then, you know, I can work on all the game, just work on the projects on a different laptop. Like I have a big fan pointed at this laptop right now. Lament the laptop's sad little fan. Anyway, okay, so I've got the cards. Gonna make the updates. So, okay, so one idea was running a class, and I find that I am still passionate about evangelism for gaming, and I think part of it is what games have done in my life, and I'm also still I'm passionate about the value of experiencing games, like just that, like just the activity that is the heart of the hobby. I think that is powerful. Then there's the community aspect. So the fact that it is in person generally, or that we, you know, when we would get together, we'd do a class and play games at the table in person. So that would be, you know, an important thing. Yeah, so getting to share, you know, these experiences with people who, I think my guess is the reason I had this idea, it's that I think there's still a fair amount of intimidation to deal with if you're coming into any hobby, right? So this is also like, why would you go to a rock climbing class? Why would you go to a dance class? Why would you go to I don't know, any hobby related, you know, any hobby related type of class? It's that you're dealing with something that has a history, that has a fair amount of complexity, and you don't know what you're getting into. And so like if people walk into Target, they walk into Barnes and Noble and they see these stacks and stacks of games, where do you start? They've heard games could be cool. They might have heard games are changing. They might have heard not everything is Monopoly. But where do you start? Like what's insane is, you know, like I've had these some friends come to game night a couple times, and unfortunately, I've been occupied with a game. I think twice. That's just the nature of the evening, right? We sit down, we start playing with people, and then other people kind of filter in, and that's just how things go sometimes. But they go and they look at the collection, and they go back into the back room where there's a lot of games. There's probably 200 games back there. And then they ask themselves, what looks interesting? That's kind of that's like the best they can do. What looks interesting? And you know what I've seen happen more than once? Somebody pulls Root off the shelf. I even have Root like way up at the top, like above the actual shelves. It's on the very top of the I don't know. It's like not in a cubby. It's like above. And still somebody will reach up there and grab Root. That is the last game I would teach anybody if they're new to gaming. So that's not true. But it's definitely nothing I would not teach. I wouldn't even try. I don't even know that game. Like, I've played it on my phone. I've played it a little bit at the table, maybe. But that game, I would kick down the road at least a year before I ask somebody to learn it. Relative to asking somebody to, instead of asking people to play something else. Anyway, they pull Root off the shelf because it looks cool. Like, the artwork looks kind of nice and inviting. Is it a nice and inviting game? Absolutely not. So anyway, so that's interesting, right? Like, people have this curiosity, but they don't know how to direct their curiosity. They don't know where to look. So anyway, so with that in mind, I thought, okay, let's do a class. That could be cool. Another thought I had yesterday was another little something else I started kind of thinking through and working on was after looking at rule books on stream a couple of times. Wow, this thing is really struggling. So after looking at rule books on stream a couple of times, I thought this could be like a fun little service. It's not thorough. I'm not doing, work that would that I would feel like I should be paid for, because it's just, it's streaming time. It could be something else. Or I could frame it a couple of different ways, but I want to have something to do on stream, even though I am pretty busy with trying to get these games done. Maybe once or twice a week, going over somebody's rule book and kind of practicing, like honing that skill, like figuring out what to look for. Let me see what. So I'd have a video. I'd have some feedback for somebody they could just look at. And I think that could be a neat thing. And in fact, I did that with Raising Rabbits, you'll remember. And the guy watched the video and thought, yeah, okay, that was actually helpful. Thanks for pointing that stuff out. I have an editor already, but wow. And I did something like that with Nestlings yesterday. Of course, that game is far behind the publisher. I don't think they're going to work on it, but I still think there are lessons to be learned there. And anyway, it's still me becoming more sensitive to what I'm looking for. What are my expectations as a player? Hey, Francisco. My stream quality is horrible this morning. Anyway, glad you're here. So I've been thinking it could be worth it could be, spend 30 to 40 minutes going over somebody's rule book. It wouldn't be a heavy load for me, and they would benefit a little bit because they can just kind of watch it on their own time if they want, right? And I think that'd be kind of a neat thing to do. So I was thinking to announce it on BGDL. Just say, like, if you want your rule book looked at for, just like a quick quick scan, maybe look through the first few pages. You know, as just like a kind of volunteer service. I think people might react positively to that and send me a bunch of rule books, and then, you know, bit by bit over the next couple weeks, I can just look through them, give some feedback, and it's like I don't have to do anything written. I don't have to do anything beyond sit and hang out with you, Francisco, and look at rule books. Okay, the other cards I've updated are the taps. Now, unfortunately, the concept, actually, Francisco, this concept the direction I went with the taps are partly inspired by, I forget exactly what your idea was. I didn't write it down, unfortunately. But it made me revisit, where our little discussion was, it made me revisit something about like how a player would interact with tapping the sugar bush. So I built a choice in over here now. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I have no idea why it's so bad this morning. I guess it is. I guess it really is important to just get the stream out of the way as early as in the day as possible. I'm almost certain that's part of what's going on here. Okay, so what's going on here now is that I brought back the evaporator as a step in the process, and that was just to capture a touch more theme, because the evaporator takes time, and I think just adding a step to delay what is available to players is not especially disrespectful. Like, I don't feel like I'm creating victims of these players by adding one more step. In fact, you know what came to mind? I don't know if you've ever played Macau. Have you ever played Macau? I played it recently. I think this is a Knizia game, and it was pretty mind-blowing. It was very cool, and it might be a Steffenfeld game, but I'm pretty sure it's a Knizia game. Let me see. It was reimagined as Amsterdam, I believe. It's a Feld game. And I should have known that because of the wheel. You're right. So yes, something about a farmer. So you could leave a farmer there, or you could kind of buy an upgrade or something like that. A dedicated farmer. You have to auto tap for the season. Yes, that's right. So what happens in Macau? Actually, I'll show you really quick. See, I really wish that I don't know, there are people in my gaming community who they're just really incredible. And one of the things I'm constantly just like in awe of is their deep exposure to their long exposure to the hobby, like games in the hobby, and their ability to teach, communicate about these games. It's awesome. So there's a couple guys, Sam and Stefan, who own a lot of these games, and they've like done a bunch of the 3D printing for things and whatever. So they're just amazing guys. I sat down with them, and of course, they have way more of an understanding of the hobby, much longer term experience than I do. And so they broke out this classic Macau, and you can see it here a little bit. It's not a great. This wouldn't give you a real taste, but what happens in the game is that at the start of the round, a bunch of dice get rolled. And they're of different colors. Actually, this is maybe the best. And you can't really see super well. Okay. Okay, so what happens in the game is that at the start of the round, dice get rolled, and you pick dice and take cubes equal to the pip value of the dice and matching the die's color. Okay, so that's the key idea. So let's say a black 5 is rolled. So you would take 5 black cubes. Or let's say a red 3 is rolled. You take 3 red cubes. Then what you do is you drop those cubes in the slot corresponding to the die value. So for example, again, black 5, you take 5 black cubes, drop them in the slot right here associated with the 5. There might be other cubes there might not be. But then what happens is that I might have got the order mixed up here, but at some point during the round, you spin that wheel so that the cubes that are in slot 1 get dumped into this area, and these are the cubes that are available to you that round. And so now you can start to picture what's happening here. So you fill up these areas with cubes. Of course, if you use a 5 or a 6, you're going to get a ton of cubes. You get to just fill the slot with like a beautiful amount of cubes. Because the thing is, you're going to be spending these cubes to activate things, to buy cards, to do things around the game, like on the map and all kinds of stuff. So having a lot of cubes is good. That's a good thing. However, what it means is you're going to have to wait 5 turns for that wheel to spin and for those cubes to get dumped out into your, to become available. You don't know what the board state is going to be in 5 turns. You don't know what cards you're going to be committed to in 5 turns. You're just kind of hoping for the best. There is some stuff where you can sort of bank some things and you can have a little bit of a plan, but ultimately you're balancing. It's a great problem, and I would like to play again, but you're balancing the quantity and flow of cubes with your immediate needs, right? Because if you just I need a purple cube this turn, so I'm gonna take a 1 of purple just so I can have it. But that means sacrificing the green 5 that's sitting there. And you're going to need a lot of green eventually, but you need a purple right now. It is an amazing problem. It's so good. And it's this weird time delay mechanism, right? So it's brilliant. It's a really smart mechanism. I think it's really, really cool. And when I revisited the idea of the evaporator, Macau came to mind, because that, in a way, that's a little bit of what is happening. It's not perfect. As smart of a biome as you might be, Francisco, I think that's optimism on your part. I think I will know what will happen in 5 turns. I feel that is a very optimistic point of view. You know what? I just realized? Something I never thought of before. So you're like a movie guy. You're like a media guy. You've been paying attention to movies and probably, I don't know, what else? Comics and whatever. Like you've been consuming a lot of stuff and you love it. You built a podcast around it. And I bet your references game is pretty nuts. Like I bet you got a lot of one-liners, you got a lot of like I bet you got a strong memory for like, that one line with that famous guy or that, where they have that one argument in that one movie and then the super thing happens. So I just realized you have a UX, right? And I bet those two things are connected. Your referencing ability, your callback ability. And I don't have strong abilities in either case. Those are kind of, you treated our reading of Nestling yesterday 2010. You treated our reading of Nestlings yesterday as a type of media and it's stuck in your mind and you're able to reference it and call back. I love that. I never thought of that before. It's not a really powerful insight or anything, but I just never made that connection that somebody who's really good at like quoting movies would of course also be good at like quoting, just like remembering interactions and like quoting things in general, like calling back like a comedian. That's perfect. It makes a lot of sense. It makes sense why I'm not good at both. Why I'm not good at either. Okay. So what have I done? I've updated the cards here. Okay, now closing the loop here. The reason I thought of Macau is, and the reason why I'm also a little more comfortable with the idea of re-adding the evaporator, is that mechanism with Macau is so cool, so strong, and it is very much like mechanical. It's like, you've got to wait. Sorry, buddy. You made a decision back there that affects what's coming next turn, and you cannot fully anticipate what you needed back then, and it doesn't perfectly line up with what you need now, but it's better than nothing, right? I guess I didn't think that either. Yeah, I think anyway, I think that's a cool ability you have there. I've always been amazed at people that can remember movies, like quote movies. I cannot. Same with jokes. I can remember a fair number of riddles, but I can never remember jokes. I don't know what the difference is. I really don't get it. Like, I cannot think of a joke right now. Any one joke. I can think of a bunch of riddles, though. Yeah, but rules analysis doesn't make you friends. It doesn't make people laugh, Francisco. Okay. Well, okay, I've been chattering at length here. I think the main thing is that I'm becoming more comfortable with the idea that there's just going to be a flow of cubes and the player has some control over that flow. And what I wanted to do was, instead of make it just purely mechanical, as in you make no decisions between when the cubes jump onto your card and when they leave, I thought, and this goes back to your farmer concept a little bit. It's not exactly what I don't think it's exactly what you were thinking. But I thought I would build in a choice right here. And that's why this card grew and now is upgradable and it flips. Oh, that's right. I need to update the hardware store. I'll be back, TTS. The hardware store. What card are you? Right here. Okay. So now the hardware store shows taps flipping. So this is new. Before taps just kind of slid out, but now it's going to flip. And you'll see why. I don't like that there's literally no thematic representation on taps. Because tapping is actually kind of nuts. Like, it's cool. Drilling into the tree, hooking a bucket or hooking a line up to the tree. It's a cool thing. It's a cool system. And so for sure there'd be a way to like represent that in an icon or something. Okay, hardware store, and then I think we're up to date. So does this make sense why playing Macau, being really impressed with Macau is making me more comfortable with this delay in the process? So rather than getting immediately what you think you need, there will be a slight delay. Nice. We have another artist in Twitch. Welcome. You're welcome to stick around and think about and talk about game design. You're more than welcome if you're interested in game design. Okay, so all right. Did I update it? Apparently I did not. I thought I did. Okay, it is up to date. Perfect. So I'm gonna say this mod before I do anything else. What was I? Oh, I think we'll start with some number of cubes in here. Always default to 2 guys walking in the bar. Okay. I don't recall a ton of jokes. Yeah. Have you already explored? I think I might be. Have you already explored? Not sure. My stream this morning is so choppy. I'm so sad. I think I already lost Brooklyn Blade. Do you think that's like, is that kind of like before I type a bunch, what does the hardware store do again? That's the thing that allows you to upgrade something about your Sugar Shack process. So this is how you add an extra worker. This is how you improve the taps. Here, actually, let me show you what the taps do right now, because I haven't actually talked it through. Okay, so actually, I'm also gonna fill this in here. This also means we need to add a couple cubes here to the evaporators. I'll give both players 2. How about that? Okay. All right, now I'm going to save this mod. 1 second. Okay. Now here's the situation. So let's say we place our workers, spend some cubes, right? Now we recall the workers. So first thing that happens, I think what I was hoping to do is cut the number of steps. So first thing that happens, let's say we also had a worker that we gain an extra worker like this. So this is the situation now. Okay, so we recall workers. Oh, this card should be out a little further. Recall workers, move workers from the waiting room into the active staff area. Now these go up here, and then we'll focus on this situation right here. So either you can is this game is this game joyful for me right now? I don't know what that means. Okay, so recalled workers. This is a joy. This is Birthday Burger. I hope when you see it, it doesn't look like an absolute bore, but it totally could. It totally could. Do you design? Do you play many tabletop games? Birthday Burger, double B's. That's a fun detail. Okay. Okay, so what's happening? So we moved the workers over, we moved these cubes up, and now we have a decision. And this I feel like might be, I don't know if this is great, but let's have a look. So all that stuff shifts and moves over here. And now you can take a cube for $2. So let's say they do that. They pay the $2, take a cube. Now you can either take 2 cubes or a worker for next turn. So that's the decision there. So it's almost like use this worker to get 2 extra cubes. Yeah, that's too bad. I really don't know why the connection is so bad. Well, okay. I'm gonna talk it through, and hopefully after I'm done and it posts, hopefully it's a little smoother or something. I don't know. So let's see what happens. I'm just gonna go through a couple of rounds. Okay, let's say I take the cubes this time. All right, and then use all these workers. These get spent. These move up. Oops. Okay, and then you're back here deciding things. So let's say it's a little sad to have to pay. It's a little sad to have to pay this cost. Well, I feel like you would pretty much always take. I think you'd have to take the cubes. Right? Because if you don't, and then you take an extra worker, what happens? Let's do that. So I'm not going to take cubes. I'm going to take a worker. Okay. Now these get spent. Let's say these get spent, or maybe only one of them gets spent. These refill. Nothing moves in, and this worker moves over, and nothing moves in. Okay. I don't know. There might be moments when that actually makes sense. Like if you don't need a lot of cubes, but you need a bunch of workers. Like that'd be the case here. Because actually, you would be set up perfectly to do, let's say, like a grant office and a community project. Grant office upgrade and community project. Okay, let's keep playing it out. Okay, so now so the extra tap, the upgrade was this one. So you do get, this is, at least this is what I was thinking. So you would always get an extra cube for free. You could pay 2 to gain a cube. I wonder if I should increase income then. Well, let me run this again a couple times. Okay, so let's say you have a few cubes in bottles on the shelf. Yeah, so this would be like buying extra taps, like what you just pointed out. It's you just start getting more cubes. What I don't know though is if, so like these are the sides, the different sides of the card side by side basically. So this is the idea. This one is the starting side, this is the upgraded side. What I don't know, for example, is if it would be better to always have a cube for free and then you decide a worker or a cube. Because in fact, the worker should be it should be more valuable than a cube. That's how we priced everything out. Like a worker is worth 2 power and a cube is worth 1 power. So that's kind of how we set up the economy. So I wonder if they would Actually, let me try it another way. So what I'll do is I'll act as if this says, I'll act as if this card says 1 for free, 1 for 2, and then either a worker or a cube. So that's what I'm gonna play around with. So in other words, this cube would move up here. I'm gonna try that. Okay, so we need a couple of cubes. Because I think you always want to give them at least 1. Maybe? That's my feeling. But not too sure. Okay, they spend a couple of cubes. These guys are gone. All right, now we recall. These move up here. And now they gain 1 for free. Let's say they were back here. They spend money to gain another 1. Oh, interesting. Yeah, but wait a second. So you said, okay, thematically I think it makes more sense to get 1 cube per worker, but you can pay them more overtime to get 2 cubes for a worker. Well, the thing is, you're not really spending a worker here. You're just not gaining 1, which is maybe effectively the same thing. but it's kind of interesting to move the cost. Because I don't know if you're reading this as something per. This is either or. Was that clear? Either you gain a worker or you gain 2 cubes. I don't know if that was clear or not. Let me run this like one more time. Let me run this one more time. And then I haven't actually finished running it. So let's say we spend 2 cubes. Cool. All right, these guys come back. There was nothing to move over there. These move up. Okay, those move up. Then you gain 1 for free. Not going to spend. And then let's say I take a worker this time. Okay, then we place workers out, move cubes. Let's say we spend all 3 of them this time. Okay, this moves up. This moves up. Wait, we're not at that point yet. Messages from like retreat planning people. Okay, so this is the situation now. So we recall. What I think we'll run into, I might actually want to reduce the number of workers here again. Because, or maybe not, because it's just that if you do this, if you decide to take workers, you're going to be in the situation where you don't have enough cubes to do things. And that's not cool. Yeah, I don't want a player to feel like they have to send a worker down there to do that. Yeah, that's right. But I thought it'd be interesting to build a decision into this. Somehow, but of course the real issue now is if they take the syrup, then they might not have enough workers to do what they want to do with all that syrup. If they take the worker, they're not going to have enough syrup to do stuff with the workers they have. So is that a problem, or is that just a balancing question? Yeah, I think this is tricky. Because right now what's going to happen is you're going to have 4 workers and 1 cube. What are you boys going to do with that 1 cube? So what they can do is then turn their worker into a cube anyway. So that's no good. Right? Like, this is not a meaningful system right now. Yeah. Yeah, this is not a meaningful system. At least the flow of cubes is not right. So it could be that, like, if you gain, let's say you gain 2 cubes. Like, what would be a decent amount of cubes to get every turn? It was okay. Because you can do 2 different things. You can sort of load up and do one thing, right? Like, especially with this many workers, like minimum 2 cubes per turn. Yeah, you know what, Francisco? I think I'm gonna let this stream go to the grave. I'm at about an hour. I'll probably work on this a little bit more and hopefully have some more updates tomorrow. But it's just all I see is red. And I don't want you to suffer through that. So anyway, it's clear the flow, the tap situation is not right. Need to work on that. But I kind of like that you'll have an idea of the number of cubes you get to work with for the next turn. So I think that, like, you'll have the and like nothing more basically, which I think is very cool. But yeah, I think that's it for me. Hoping for better luck with the stream tomorrow. Anyway, yeah, have a great day. Be productive. Enjoy your time. Can you send excess workers to do guerrilla marketing in town streets? Earn $1 per worker. I did have on that point. There was an exchange for workers at one time. I think it was $1 for one worker, but that just felt a little bit sad. You know, you don't have anything useful to do with this worker, just gain $1. That felt a little bit sad. But it doesn't mean it's it would never be a relevant idea again. But like I feel like I just want to keep tweaking the flow of things, workers and of cubes, so that there's a nice kind of healthy window that those things can fluctuate in. Anyway, yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for your ideas. Enjoy the day. Bye.